94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city. Good evening, New Haven. This is Moving Target, and I am your host, Jay Kemp. And with me is my comrade, Remedy Sharif.
Yeah, sensational Sundays.
You always, just so y'all know, for people who are just realizing that we're on the evenings.
Too many people I've noticed, man, a lot of people are using it now.
What, Super Saturday?
Yeah, man. Every time I turn around, you listen to another station, they use Super Saturday, Super this, Super that. So I'm like, okay, sensational.
I don't know if I like
sensational Sundays, man.
I guess it rolls off. Sensational Sunday. All right, no doubt.
Yeah,
we'll take it. We'll
yes,
take
sir.
it. What's going on with you, bro?
Evening, brother. Everything's great.
I know you hit me up earlier in the week. You know, you were upset. You had some PSAs you wanted to get off your chest, some public service announcements.
Listen,
what you got?
Yeah, the remedy PSA for the day. If you consider yourself somebody's friend, a real friend, a real friend, not a friend of me, not none of them other side things we talk about.
Right.
If you a real friend, and you out with your friend, and they might have a little something hanging from their nose, tell them about it. Please tell them about it. Don't let them walk around the club. Fellas, don't let your man walk up to a young lady trying to check with her and he got a little some crust on his nose. Tell him about it, bro. Get that.
So this happened to you?
No. But I've seen it.
You've seen it?
I've seen dudes walking around and it made me think, like, who they friends?
Yeah, like, why they didn't tell them?
You know what I'm saying? How your boy
Why
didn't tell you, you know what I'm saying? Then you up in somebody's face.
Yeah.
What's up?
Sometimes it's like breath, too. It's like, yo, ain't no way it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and nobody told you about your breath.
But the bottom line to that is, especially if you're a professional, if you're a teacher, if you're a doctor, if you're somebody that got to talk to somebody closely and quietly, ain't nothing worse than soft, hot breath.
Yeah.
When your breath is soft, hot breath, that's bad,
it's the
man.
worst.
So y'all got to clean that up.
Listen, I have to talk to you. Like, I don't.
Eyes immediately watering.
Yeah.
You know, eyes immediately tearing up. You don't what?
You don't need to talk to me. Not with that breath.
You know, so yeah.
All right, well, we got it. Remedy PSA, you know, let your friends know. Be honest with your friends. That's what it comes down to.
Please.
Yo, listen, them boots are ugly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That your breath stink. You know, say it. Let them know. You gotta be real. You gotta be honest.
You gotta
man.
be 1,000.
Well, all right. Well, I appreciate that, bro. My PSA, I would say, if I'm gonna put a J PSA, it would have to come down to this whole Gayle King situation. I'm not gonna get into it because we have a great guest next week where we're gonna talk about this. I'm not gonna say who this guest is, but I'm really excited about next week's guest because we're gonna unpack a lot of things that have been spoken about post Gayle King situation, even prior, but even more so now.
Snoop Dogg was the best.
No, he wasn't.
No,
I don't agree with that.
But that quote was legendary. That quote was legendary, man.
Snoop always looked like somebody's auntie on when he go live.
He do, man.
But no, I didn't agree with how, you know, people responded.
You didn't agree with Funky Dog Head Itch.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, that was
I
beautiful.
see some similarities, I guess, but no, I don't agree with that's not how we need to be talking to our elders. Number one, that's an older woman. That's a grown woman. You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
And
some would consider Snoop an elder now.
Yeah, true.
So
true.
maybe that's.
But I think even Gayle, I think Gayle's even more of an elder.
Yeah.
And I don't appreciate, you know, the way people are responding. And some of it is fake outrage as well. Mm-hmm. Because y'all care now what Gayle said.
Right.
We've been talking about the way that masculinity and men have been attacked way before Gayle.
For a long time now.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, like, this isn't something new.
Right.
And I think, again, I think she made an amateurish mistake. Was it intentional? I personally feel like it was. You know what I'm saying? But again, I can only hold myself accountable of how I respond.
Right.
And Snoop was a child. He was a child the way he responded.
But you gotta expect what you expect from the Dogfather.
No
the Dogfather's gonna do what he do, man. And he just gonna come out and say it like that. Call it a funky dog head witch.
Like what?
That was beautiful.
What did we expect?
What did you expect?
That
was beautiful.
Yeah. So we got a great show this evening, and just so y'all know, we are also live on YouTube. So if you are really enjoying the conversation, it won't be over after this hour. We're going to switch. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and we're going to go right over to YouTube for the B-side podcast of Moving Target, where it's the other side. It's the other part that's like uncut, you know, where we can talk about a whole lot more things.
Where it's raw.
Where it's raw. You know what I mean? So yeah. So we're gonna get into this conversation now. One of the things that has always been important for us here at Moving Target was the black home, you know, and the family unit, right? And we know divorce rate is not only high, but it's even high of people who don't even want to get married.
Right.
You know, and there's so many things stemming from that. We constantly have conversations around how do you choose your mate? How are you properly choosing your mate? How are you functioning and navigating through relationships? We have these conversations over and over.
Right.
Steve Harvey and all these people put out books. And to be real with you, I feel like the conversation is getting kind of boring.
Mundane.
It's mundane. It's like we hear it a lot. And it's not to say that people still don't need that insight when they need it. You know, it's true. They do. But we have had this conversation so much up here that we even have listeners that are like, yo, y'all gotta talk about something different when it comes to this stuff, right?
Not only that, what's very interesting that I think about is that most of the time when we're talking about these things, we're pretty much preaching to the choir. We're always talking to us.
Right.
We need to find ways to reach the youth. You know what I mean? It needs to be we need to articulate to them that they'll gravitate to and understand it, because they're the ones that's really, really needing it. Because they're younger and younger, starting to date and explore and do all kinds of things. So
it's kind of crazy how bad it's getting. The conversation I just had to have. I'm not even gonna get into that, but that is another conversation I think we're gonna have here. We're gonna hold space for young people to really talk about dating on their level, right? But for tonight, I want us to still look at marriage, still look at relationships, but I think we need to redefine some things and maybe look at them from different perspectives.
Absolutely.
Right? So of course we brought back with us love relationship expert and author Treamell Lawrence. What's up, bro?
Thank you for having me back on the show, man. I appreciate it. Happy New Year to my sisters and my brothers out there. So
Happy New Year. Yeah, well, you know what? It's not Happy New Year no more. We in February.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you brothers in a minute.
No doubt. Happy New Year, brother. Good to
Peace
see
and
you,
blessings,
man. So it's really great to have you on the show again. And we also have somebody that I think people are not really aware, you know, of your beginnings. Yes. But somebody that really helped you in some kind of way in your beginnings, Sabrina Renee. What's up, Sabrina?
Hi.
Sabrina.
Hello.
I always have to remind Sabrina, in the mic.
My bad.
It's all good. Sabrina, so it's good to have you here as well.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I know you're going to bring some insight to this conversation we're about to have. Before we even get into, you know, talking about redefining relationships and love and dating, I want to ask you, Treamell, you know, a lot of times we don't see the beginning story before somebody became the expert or the one giving the jewels and the gems. You know what I mean? Talk about how Sabrina kind of like supported you at a time where you were collecting yourself and learning yourself. Just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember Sabrina helped me in a particular situation where I was in a dysfunctional relationship. You know, I was going to a therapist at the time that had a good emotional support system, but Sabrina was one of those people, part of the front line to reach out to remind me how great of a person I am. Because during that time frame, it was rocky. I felt like there was a void missing from me. I did not value myself as I should have, and you know, and at that time it was at a very, very low point. So, you know, reaching out to Sabrina through, you know, social media and, you know, gravitating towards her because I see how upfront and direct she really is, and we had that connection. She helped me to nurture to become a better person within that time frame.
No doubt.
And, you know, part of being a man throughout this process is to learn from your poor choices, to, you know, self-reflect on things you have done, to observe in order to take those cues from other people and apply it to yourself, so that way you don't make those same choices in the next relationship. And now I'm in a very healthy relationship, and part of it I have to, you know, absolutely thank Sabrina for that.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
That's
I appreciate that.
That's beautiful.
You are welcome.
And so yeah, Sabrina Renee is the one that will tell you got a booger in your nose.
Oh,
She's the
Yes,
one.
yes, absolutely.
You will.
I do that. You got a juicy golden nugget.
Well, before you go over there, put a vent in, eat a tissue, a bookie.
So yeah, I want to get into this, man. As far as the, so we do this all the time. We have these conversations about dating, you know, and things of that nature. You know, I want to ask, have you ever studied the archetypes, the African origin archetype energies of female and masculine energy? Have you ever looked into that?
Well, what I look into is, since I'm a communications major and I come from that background, a lot of people that I have studied are in that communication aspect field, which is related to a lot of relationships, such as Dr. Bowley, physiologist Dr. Henry Dell, another psychologist that came out with the book 5 Languages of Love, Dr. Gary Chapman.
Great book.
Absolutely. So I take all of that, as well as my experiences, as well as, you know, some other insights from other people that are married, that are in healthy relationships, and I ball it up into one ingredient, and now I'm just applied to the relationship I have now, and so far I've been helping hundreds of people, and, you know, and they're in healthy relationships as well, but, you know, just learning these things. As a person, you have to improve every day.
So the reason why I brought it up was just because we had a past guest on the show, Kenya Stevens. Her and her husband, Carl Stevens. They have been married 23 years. Beautiful marriage.
That's amazing.
Polyamorous, you know what I mean? So they have their own partners. And it was really great having her on the show to get this different perspective of monogamy and relationships, you know, and what works and the misconceptions we have of a lot of these things. But what she broke down was the 4 energies of masculine and feminine, right? And I wanted to first let me break them down, right? So for the woman, there's the devotee, right? So that's the nurturing motherly energy. That's the one that is the most powerful, but also is not the most popular. You know what I mean? You got the lover, the sensual, the Oshun energy. You got conservationist, the power. That's like the one that can heal. That's the meditating one. You know what I'm saying? And then you have the visionary. That's the strategist, how to make money. And all those energies reside in a woman, in the feminine energy, right? But what's interesting is, coupled with that, while you have the motherly energy, you also have the leader for the masculine energy, the father, the manager, the CEO, the one that kind of manages things. You got the warrior, who's the producer, the protector, the fighter. You got the negotiator, that's the money man. That's the one that can go out there and negotiate the money and bring that in. You got the monk, who's the spiritual provider. You got who has an objective, you know what I'm saying? And you need both of them to be at work for men and women. Like, it can't be the woman's this and the man's not this. You know what I mean? In order for both energies to really come out, you need all those there. So I'm wondering, are we really learning that these exist within the feminine and masculine, and are we applying them to when we really choose our mate?
Well, you know, I believe when it comes to the masculine energy portion, I believe that a man, you know, pretty much gets what he deserves. In other words, it all goes back to, what are you doing to become an assertive person? What are you doing to become a protector? What are you doing to become a leader? That all goes back to putting yourself out there and having a purpose in life in order to have these things. So that way, the more that you have that mission in life, the more opportunities that it will allow you to have things that you earn, things that you deserve. I feel like when it comes to woman, based on how she is or how she portrays herself, she gets the kind of man based on who she is being. So is she being respectful? Is she being nurturing? Is she being supportive? All of these things, I feel like, you know, as far as my relationship goes, apply to that format in order to get the yin or the opposition, in order to become that relationship, to better balance it on that equal level.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like these are things that aren't really looked at when we're choosing who we want to date. It's like, when we choose who we want to date, it's almost like, well, I like this person, so let's just see what happens. But my thing is, but that's what a lot of people do. I like this person, I'm going to go on some dates with them. They seem really cool. There are some things I'm looking for, and they're matching some of them. but it's like we're still not approaching the dating part with enough intention to be specific on those things.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And I feel like that's because a lot of people have a misconception of what relationship and dating really is, especially marriage.
Yeah. Well, I believe that it all starts with the connection. You got to have some sort of emotional connection with that person that you are dating, with that person that you are thinking about taking it to the next level. I believe a lot of it has to do with communication, which you know what I'm saying, because if you come across a brother that I was helping the other day, and he has a lot of emotional outbursts, and he can't control his emotions while he's seeing that person. A lot of people sometimes will bypass that portion because they let the emotions override the logic. And when it comes to logic, which you can analyze and feel at the same time, we need to have both, that will put you at a disadvantage to be with someone in that particular relationship. I talk a lot about that, especially at my DBDS University, that I teach people how to navigate and see those particular flags when you are getting to know someone.
Right. So how exactly? What flags are you regarding? Because everything's different. Everything's situational. Right. So, are there like specific flags you're showing them, or is it really giving them the practice and the tools to learn how to spot those flags?
Absolutely, giving them the practice and tools on how to spot those particular flags. So, if you see someone, y'all on a date, I'll give you an example, and they're disrespectful to the waiter or the waitress or anyone around them for that matter, that automatically is a flag. If you show up 10 minutes somewhere, which it does happen, and you're in traffic and you're trying to, fulfill your need in order to meet that person, and as soon as you come in and that person is just highly upset about something instead of just letting it sweat off or whatever like that, that's another flag you have to pay attention to. So a lot of it has to do with the emotional temper, whether that person is a thermostat, that they can control their temperature, or if they're a thermometer and they allow the external forces to control their temperature. And a lot of people, when I teach them this stuff, they're not a thermostat. They don't know how to, even if I differ with someone with their opinions, at the end of the day, I want to still be calm. I want to still respect you with that sort of communication. But again, I have that communication background. But someone that just not aware of it, they'll begin to use ratchet communication.
Maybe it could be that, or it could be other ways that they use their communication. It could be body language, could be
nonverbal. Absolutely. The one I was helping out, when she showed up at least 10 minutes late, one particular situation, he automatically banged his fist on the table, both of them, and that's just a baby. That's a child. You bang your fist on the table. What's wrong with you? But he was really upset that she was 10 minutes late. And it was out of her control. It was traffic. It happened. Right. When she got there, banged his fist on the table. He was like, "Yo, I don't appreciate you coming up late because it's our first date." Dang. And I'm like, "Listen."
But see, now the thing is even with that, like there is, he shouldn't be banging his fist on the table. But it is something to look at and say, okay, well, you came late. But at the same time, have you considered the fact of why I might be late? Have you considered the fact of why I might be showing up a certain way? So if I show up, if she shows up a certain way, I'm on the side of saying, well, hold up, let me see what's going on. Now, if she shows up a certain way that might be negative, and I'm not seeing what's going on, I'm like, yo, what's wrong with you? And that's a flag to her to be like, oh, so you really can't look past your own self. You can't actually consider and be objective and maybe have some empathy that maybe I had a rough day. You know what I mean? So right. I think it kind of goes both ways. When we see actions, we almost can't really just judge off the rip when we haven't. This is the reason why I like pre-dates. Okay. I'm not doing dates no more.
You're not doing dates?
Nah, okay. It's pre-dates. We're going to meet at like a Panera Bread or something. We're going to talk, and I'm going to see if you're worthy of me courting you. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I feel like that needs to happen because I could first of all save $100 on a bill that I'm not gonna see the person again. You know what I mean? They're just getting a free meal. But more importantly, I get to see like, is this worth me doing that? Because as soon as you put date on it, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like all types of other things get involved, like what you're gonna wear and where you're gonna go and how's this person gonna be and all this other stuff. When you do a pre-date, it's like, nah, we just chopping it up first.
And that eliminates the room for different type of judgments. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that we make not only the dating, but even in life, but we'll stick to dating. But when you prejudge something, when you judge something without having any understanding, that's the big mistake. I mean, because honestly, at the point where you're showing up late and they're banging on the table, I'm asking, why are you early? We're gonna play this all the way. We're gonna play this all the way out. You know, why are you that early? Yeah, why are you that early? You know, something's wrong here. So it's hard. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, point taken. I don't believe it's judging. I believe it's collecting enough data to know if that person is a perfect fit for you. I think anytime you are getting to know someone, you have to collect that data so that way you can make the best decision possible to see if that person is a perfect fit for you.
Perfect fit. How do you, like, who's a perfect fit for anybody? Because the thing is, people grow and change. And I feel like this is where we need to really redefine what a relationship is, what a marriage is. Because people grow and change, and it's not my responsibility to make you happy.
Right.
It's not your responsibility to make me happy. Right? My commitment is to walk on a journey with you as you're growing. And your commitment is to walk with me as I'm growing. And that depends on where we grow. Where I might grow to might not be the fit that is for you when we first met.
Right.
But are you willing to go with me where I'm at and fit me here? And I can fit you there. And that really comes through time and communication.
And that leads to in my book, I talk about the 3 different zones that I break down with people when you first meet someone. I talk about the friend zone. As you mentioned, the pre-audition, the pre-date. That's an excellent idea that I usually tell people to do to really see if there's some sort of connection. The friend zone thing is no sex with that person. This is just my belief. But no sex while you're getting to know that person during the friend zone. To see if there's some sort of compatibility or some sort of emotional threshold that you can stimulate each other's minds.
So you got the pre-date zone. So is the pre-date zone also the friend zone?
That's all within the friend zone.
Okay.
So that's the first zone. The second zone within my book is called the intimacy zone. And this is where, just to be realistic, you may have a sample, you know what I mean? It may occur, but it's not on a consistent basis. This is where you want to see if you both on the same wavelength. You may want to allow that person to meet someone that's a part of your inner circle to see if they can venture, see if you're, someone that has the best interest at heart for your friend. And then the last zone is called the physical zone. This is where you two do decide to make it exclusive or to make it official. This is where the title is proposed to that particular person. This is where sex does happen on a consistent basis. This is where it takes it to the next level. So those are the 3 zones I mainly break down in my book.
So, would you have anything that you would add to that? Because I know you had a pretty big following when even as when you first not first met her, but when y'all interacted and you went through what y'all went through.
Right.
What would you add to that?
What do we say? What are we talking about again?
Well,
Okay,
basically,
wow.
we was talking about the
No, because it's so much. So I want to know exactly what am I
the zones of really it comes down to when you meet someone, what other ways that you know that you need to be able to fit with that person. So we talk about a perfect fit. Is there really any such thing as a perfect fit? Because where you end up growing to with that person, the fit's always going to change.
It's not a perfect fit. There's an old man that said he was married to his wife, and he gave a perfect example of how they were married for so many years, I think about 30 years, and she changed every couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically said he embraced and he loved her through all of her changes.
Yes.
And she wasn't the same woman he married.
She didn't need to be.
She didn't need to be because he loved her spirit. So that's very important when you're dealing with someone. Energy. Everything
Yes.
is energy. I don't care what the person looks like. I don't care what they have, what they're saying, what they're doing. It's energy. You can meet somebody under a bridge that you connect with better than you have connect with somebody that you might have even been in a relationship for years on top of years.
Yes.
It's all about energy. But people today really don't pay attention to those type of things, which is very important.
And this is where I feel like we have the misconception. You know, I feel like I don't think it's so cut and dry to break down certain. There are some steps and things that you have to follow, but the depth of what you're really looking for when it comes to a companion, when it comes to a union, it's way deeper than just can we communicate, can we, it's like, are you really going to be that life partner? So when you talk about marriage, you got marriage on the legal end, signing the paper, and you're legally married. You do the whole ceremony in front of everybody. But yet you were living together for 5-6 years, taking care of each other's kids, maybe even had a kid. What was the difference between when you signed that paper? When did the spiritual marriage start? If I had a perception of marriage where the relationship I enter in with a woman has begun, that's where the spiritual marriage began, I wouldn't have jumped into a lot of relationships. I would have really held off and been like, wait a minute, before I take this person's hand in this union, there's some things I gotta work out before I just jump into this relationship. Because now we become serial monogamous. We're like, oh, in this relationship, all right, that's done. Next one, that's done. Next one, and we're carrying something the whole time. So it's like, if we can really redefine what marriage really is, I don't think it has anything to do with all of a sudden one day you got married and things changed. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, when does that spiritual marriage begin? When can somebody really say, and maybe you need to select the person that you want to enter into the third zone that you're talking about. That middle zone has to have much more in it that has a person really understand, like, I'm about to connect my soul to this person.
And that's what is part of the intimacy zone, because you very are intimate with that person. You have that open and wall relationship, which Dr. Shirley Glass, the psychologist, did preach about that. When you have that window open to the point that you're sharing with that particular person your vulnerabilities and who you truly are, and you have that wall up against people that are negative and those external influences that's trying to tear down your relationship. And that's something that is part of the spiritual connection. Yes, I am breaking it down from a surface level, but it is much deeper than that. You got to have that connection. But a large part of it, which a lot of people hear about these days, is the communication aspect. I feel like if you don't have communication, your relationship will be stagnated.
But you know what? It's part of me. It's not it's not communication. Because people say communication is key. Comprehension is key. Because I can be communicating to you the best way I know how. And if you don't comprehend where I'm coming from, we are going nowhere.
And also, if you don't comprehend yourself. Because if you're not really comprehending yourself, and you are able to really understand your own mind and what you need and what you're looking for, and what you also do or don't do.
Just like self-love.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's one of the biggest keys, though, like real talk, because when you talk about comprehension, like you said, for yourself, then you understand whether so many of us it's a lot of people that don't experience what a real relationship could be at a highest level, just because, not because of the person that you're looking at, it's because you don't allow yourself to go there. You have to open yourself up to be hurt. You may be hurt. But when you're vulnerable and you put that experience on the table, you open yourself up to be able to receive, then you can experience that level of intimacy, that level of relationship, and all of those different things.
Nobody wants to do that anymore, though. You do know that. And that's the problem. Nobody wants to be vulnerable anymore.
Or they limit the amount of vulnerability they really want to show.
You think you can't do that. Like, I don't even know how, well, I'm a woman, but I don't, because men are different, and women need to understand that too. We do not think the same, and we do not operate the same as men. Now, with that being said, I don't know how to be a little bit vulnerable. I'm just vulnerable.
Right. Which is also, I think, unfortunately, it's looked at as a bad thing.
As a weakness.
But it's a great thing to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a great thing. I want to shift a little bit because we're talking about a spiritual marriage. So, Treamell, do you believe that there's a spiritual marriage that begins before the marriage that we see take place and begin on the legal aspect?
Absolutely.
When does it begin?
I say it begins during that second zone that I talk a lot about. When you get to know that person to see if there's a connection. I believe the connection is very...
But if you're getting to know the person, then you haven't yet started the spiritual marriage. You're still wondering if you should.
That's the friend zone phase. Before all of that, the friend zone phase is when
Right.
you're truly getting to know someone, collecting data.
So
no
when
sex
you so on
whatsoever.
that
But
so
when
in
you
that
slowly-
second zone, you're saying that's when a spiritual marriage begins. So essentially, in spirit, you're committing before God with that person, and your union has begun.
and the union has begun. And then when you get to that third level, and that's if you and that person is on the same wavelength. I just want to put that out there. If you two, this is where you do have those honest conversations where you are vulnerable and you're discussing with your partner, this is what I'm about, these are my rules of engagement, this is what I'm looking for in a partner, and vice versa. And if you two are on the same wavelength to continue, then it'll slowly go into the physical zone.
So what about this idea that monogamy? Do you believe monogamy is natural?
I believe it is natural.
You believe it's natural?
I do.
Rem, do you believe monogamy is a natural way of humans?
No. Okay, let me say this.
There's only 4% of animals that are monogamous.
Right. I believe that it may be, or it may not be. You know what I mean? To me, it really depends on. You have some people that I had to learn myself sincerely. When we truthful with ourselves, sincerely, one woman is me.
Right.
I don't need. That's just who I am. I don't knock anybody that is not monogamous or does more or whatever like that. I would never say that they're wrong. So it may be or it may not be. You know what I mean? I think naturally we follow yourself, follow your sincere self.
Sabrina, do you for not only do you believe monogamy is natural, but also do you think that there is a conflict within a lot of marriages in regards to their nature and their nurture? You know what I'm saying?
I want to first say I don't think monogamy is natural. I think monogamy is forced, or monogamy
Or trained.
is trained.
Like you have to be.
Yeah.
This is the way it's
Just
supposed
like,
to be.
Yeah, just like going to school. Whatever they teach us,
Right.
algebra, all that stuff is the same thing. Now, what was the other?
The other was so you kind of answered the question of the conflict between your natural state of wanting intimacy with other people, right, as opposed to the way you were taught to be monogamous. So do you think there's a conflict that happens that maybe people aren't talking about?
There is a conflict because people are selfish, and so they may want to be like a kid. They want to sample, but they don't want you to sample because you're supposed to belong to them. You get what I'm saying?
Now that's kind of, and see, I agree. See, this is where I feel like it becomes dangerous. The moment we feel like when the spiritual marriage begins, I'm yours and you're mine. Because now we're not loving gently, we're loving hard.
Well, I don't know.
Because when you're loving gently, people can kind of flow. You could flow with that person like the man did every time she changed. He loved their spirit every time that's a real love. But when you love like you're mine and I'm yours, it's like, wait a minute, you're not here the way I met you, and now you're different.
We got to think about conditional love and unconditional love because that really could lead that. For me, I'm a realist.
Yep.
I look at that as that's conditional. I only love you, all of you, while you with me.
Or when you're like this.
Or when you're like this.
Yeah.
However, I want you to look and be, and then when that changes, and it's not unconditional.
Well, I mean, see, but I think what alters that is I think we don't do our due diligence in really learning somebody. How long is that phase when you're being friends? Not being intimate necessarily, not doing these different things. When you're really learning, is this my best friend? If we do, I wouldn't put no time on it. I wouldn't put no time on it. That's the thing between those two people. But you have to really do a due diligence to learn somebody, to first know yourself.
Right.
Because when you can say, I know it's not going to change. You're going to know when we're friends, I want you for me alone. And you're going to know that about me. I'm going to know that about her, whether she wants me for herself alone. You know what I mean? And if that's how it is, when them things do change, you are going to look funny, but you got to put that time in to learn that.
Yeah, I mean, because even if you learn yourself, you're still going to get to a point where what you learned about yourself and you're sharing with that person, you're not complete yet.
Right? You're not.
You only learned yourself up until the point that you met that person. And where we met, we connected on this level. And, when it comes down to the talk of monogamy, in a relationship, I do believe that
that monogamy isn't natural, but at the same time, neither is exercise. You know, when you think about exercise, pain has to happen, stress has to happen, muscles need to be broken down and then built up. You have to inflict that. You're not just gonna lay there and naturally go through exercise. You have to bring that on, right?
Right.
Monogamy is something that I feel you have to practice. And it's something that you have to do, not to force you to be with this one person for the rest of your life, but to really keep boundaries up so you can constantly renew what you need to renew with this person for the rest of your life. That's the only way monogamy works, is when you constantly renew with the person you're with.
I think it can. I mean, it works definitely that way, but I think it can be natural again in the sense of when you know yourself. Like it took me, it did, you know.
But yourself was probably trained to.
No, but look, no, because you remember we used to play. We used to play with many of them. Nah, brother, come on now. You remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. But it took me years to really understand women are different, and I can only take one. I can't do it, bro.
No doubt.
I don't got the mental energy that.
I mean,
I might not have the physical energy either no more.
Yeah.
But
I agree, but again, that is still conditioning. You know what I'm saying? The practice of monogamy, I do believe, is the same way we would practice any discipline to be able to engage more with what we do. You know what I'm saying? And master more of what we do. So if I want to master my love for someone, I'm not going to be able to master that when I could just be like, yeah, I mean, I love her. And I love all 10 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't master my love with this one person if I'm bringing myself to all these other people.
Right.
So monogamy has to be practiced in that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
At the same time, I do believe marriage needs to be looked at earlier than the ceremony. Like,
I agree with that.
Not we're going to get ready for marriage. No. You want to be in a relationship, then that means you want a marriage. And I feel like if we could redefine that, we would see a lot of differences in how we approach dating and relationships.
You see, when I met my wife, before we even took it to the level, she told me that she's looking for a partner. And her definition of a partner was someone that she can invest in. She was not looking for a boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And I was looking for a partner as well. You know, we was looking for someone that we know that we can talk about mortgage, talk about stocks, talk about investing more than just the love portion. Because in the whole monogamous thing, which I truly believe it is natural, I feel that us as people, as human beings, we're like puzzles. There's so many different layers of us. That's what makes the marriage even more cohesive as a unit, because when you get to know this person's spirituality side, her mental side, her emotional side, because again, we're just like puzzles, just little pieces of us. It's sort of like you are growing with that person to that degree to take it to the next level. I feel like when I was out there dating, and you know, to piggyback on Remedy, and I'm doing with this woman and this woman and this woman on the bench, and I was
saying 12 people, so
that was the 12.
But no, that was just a number I was throwing out there.
Okay. Yeah. So when you're like, there was more than that.
Stop it.
So for me, it was mentally draining, spiritually draining, emotionally draining. You know, in my view, I feel like it's so much easier and safer to have one person that has all of those moving parts, because again, we're a puzzle. There's different pieces of us in order to relearn that person over and over again for the relationship to thrive and keep it afloat.
Do you think that person will always have all the parts that you're talking about?
Absolutely. When
Yeah,
you're
but is that realistic to really say? You know, because people
evolve. They do change.
Evolve, so they're not always going to have the same pieces you're looking for.
But the thing is, in a relationship, you either grow together or you grow apart. That's the beauty of marriage. That's the beauty of monogamous, where you're pouring your soul into someone that's constantly changing.
Yeah.
And you're changing in the same wavelength. You're changing with that person. That's what keeps the connection strong.
I do agree,
you know?
That's my point of saying, like, monogamy is something we have to practice because it's helping us basically be more engaged with the person we love. But to say that it's natural, I just don't believe that in a man's 50 years of marriage that there hasn't been a woman that he's worked with or seen that has not sexually stimulated him in some kind of way.
Yeah.
So that natural part of us is essentially goes against our monogamous nature. So the monogamy is something that we really have to practice and really revere instead of looking at it like, well, I just want to have sex with another person. It's like, you're just gonna have sex with another person and attach yourself to another spirit. You know, instead, when you practice monogamy, you're actually investing more into the person you're with, and you're controlling that natural urge.
Well, see, I don't feel there's anything wrong to, I think it's natural for us to see other humans and be like, that person is attractive. I mean, there's no difference than if you're at work and you have a terrible boss and deep in your mind you want to punch him. You know what I'm saying? But you don't react on those thoughts because you're in a civilized
But
society,
it is a natural urge to want to punch your boss
but-
sometimes. Well, hold on. We're gonna come right back. Not WIDC. Go to our YouTube Moving Target podcast because I want to get into monogamy more, polyamory, and what does that look like. And also, when I also want to talk about when does a marriage, if you've been with a person for 6 to 8 years and you're living with them, and the person says, well, it's not real until we get that paper signed. You know what I mean? How should you look at that? When is it too late?
And don't forget about the Facts Initiative on the
February 22nd.
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right, this is 94.3 WIDC's Moving Target. Make sure you go to our YouTube page.
I hated to miss, but I had a big deadline at work. Thanks to Total Wireless.